Hey everybody, Bill Sherck, the man about the woods. Welcome to the Minnesota Bound podcast, the stories behind the stories. And if you're anything like me, every time you go on an adventure, you make memories. Some you want to talk about and some you just want to forget sometimes. Which I guess is exactly why I invited my good friend Ryan Johnson along for today's chat. Hey Ryan, how are you?
Hey, good. How you doing?
Well, I'm better than I was back on that fateful day when you and I decided to wander off into Canada.
I thought I was fine.
So let's set up this trip because there is quite a story to tell here. We decide we want to go try to catch big smallmouth bass in Canada. You had never been paddling into the Boundary Waters or Quetico. So we said, all right, we'll go up, we'll do a two-part trip. We'll paddle for a couple of days off the grid, then we'll get back into the border town of Atikokan, grab a shower, grab a hot meal, and then jump on a plane and fly off into the bush to fish smallies.
That's
So
right.
we paddle, and we had just a quick couple-day trip paddling, but you had a moment in time where you're throwing a topwater bait. Do you remember what that topwater bait was?
Well, of course I do. Um, Actually, a friend of ours had given me a bait that really wasn't released yet in the United States, and it was a Japanese bait, and their name was a shower blow, and it was topwater bait, and kind of like a Zara spook on top, kind of goes back and forth, but had really, really good action. Light bait, could throw it a mile. Yeah, and caught a big bass squatch on it.
Yeah, so we're paddling around in the canoe in this bay in the Quetico, and you hook up and you're like, oh, it's a pretty nice fish. And we had a television camera along, and all of a sudden you start slobbering and there's like spit coming out of your nose. And this massive fish slowly makes its way to the dang canoe. How big was it?
Well, obviously we're in a canoe. We don't have all of our gear with us, so we had no scale, we had no ruler. But it was big. I've caught a couple smallmouth bass before,
A couple.
and this one was big. It was as big or bigger than anything I'd ever caught on some of Minnesota's finest smallmouth lakes, and it must have had just eaten something too, because the belly on this thing was just out there. I mean, it was just ginormous.
Fat, as
But
in dope.
yeah, it was big, and so we don't know how big it was, unfortunately. But I've had the luck of catching 6 pound smallmouth before, and this thing was all of that, if not more.
Well, if people type in Minnesota Bound, do a Google search Minnesota Bound Quetico, that fish fight will pop right up. But that's not really what today's episode is about. It is more about getting back to town in the second half of the trip. So we clean up our tents, we paddle back out, we decide we're going to take showers separately, and then crawl on a plane. But I decide, well, I'm going to drive down to the beer store and pick up a little Labatt's to take back in with me. And I don't know if you remember this, but I get back and I'm holding a cup of coffee and we're kind of loading up the plane, and the cup of coffee falls out of my hand. Like, just comes right out of my hand, clunk on the ground. I look at it like, really? And all of a sudden I go, oh, my back hurts a little bit. And at some point there, I had pulled my back. Meanwhile, there's a television camera shooting us loading up the plane. Do you remember anything about that? Did you know I had an issue?
I did not know at that point in the trip that you had an issue. I knew after when we got to half with the lake, Half Moon Lake, but I did not know at that point. Probably from all the portaging that you had done before.
Well, yeah, but I stayed on my feet. See, this trip is just a series of stories because you go hiking in like, oh, I can carry a canoe, I can carry a backpack, and you take 9 steps, and I just see and hear kaboom.
That was also on camera.
Of course. All right. So we're going in, we're flying in on the second half of the trip to the Bass Lake. My back is hurting, and I've tweaked my back before, so I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm in trouble, and we're going off the grid. We crawl into the plane, we fly away. Meanwhile, you're looking a little bit nervous, and I'm like, well, what's
Did it
wrong with him? Is he getting sick?
did it show?
It showed a little bit. And I asked you, I'm like, are you afraid of airplanes? And do you remember what you responded?
Well, I'm not afraid of airplanes, so I don't remember exactly what I said, but I'm not afraid of airplanes. I think airplanes are absolutely amazing. Um, and I'm not afraid of heights. That don't really bother me either. But the prospect of crashing into the Canadian wilderness is something that does bother me a little bit.
So,
Uh,
so I'm sitting on this airplane with you thinking like, well, why didn't you tell me that?
I I feel like you knew that.
Well, I certainly did after that moment. You suck it up. The pilot makes a detour. I go, oh, this is not our lake. And you look at me with that nervous sort of, everything's good. And the pilot sets down on this lake, White Otter Lake, that is not our destination, but it's home of the castle.
Yeah.
So there's this guy who, way, way back, like turn of the century, not this most recent one, but 120 years ago, decides he's had enough living in society. So he paddles 14 lakes back into the bush off the dirt road and spends, I forget what it is, like 10 years building his version of a castle, cutting down logs, paddling back into town, buying a window and some nails, paddling all that back out. And he builds this thing because he's thinking he's going to attract a wife, that he's going to get a bride because he's got this massive place to live. And then the spring, like the Royal Mounted Canadian Police, the Mounties paddle back to check on this guy, and he's nowhere to be found until they look hard enough and find his body in the fishing net. And they think he either fell through the ice or went out to check a net at some point in the fall, maybe, and got stuck in his net. So he never had a bride. So this abandoned castle is just out in the woods. And I think you said you saw Oprah Winfrey?
Yeah, there was lots of celebrities that had been there and visited. Oprah. I think President Bush was there.
Yep.
Yeah.
All their signatures on the
On
second
the,
floor. You
yeah.
walk around the Savannah, it's a massive log structure that's like 3 stories high. And there's graffiti on the inside, which is too bad. But yeah, everyone signs a name. So we get back in the airplane and decide we need to get to the lake where we're going, which is called Half Moon. And by the way, we were working out of Canoe Canada Outfitters. Jeremy there is an old friend of mine. And so we fly over to Half Moon. Plane drops us off. It's funny when you watch the video of us unloading the plane, I'm just hobbled, right? you know, all
Yep.
right, that's fine. So the plane flies us over to Half Moon Lake, which is just I don't know, a mile and a half over, whatever that is in Canadian metric, Ryan.
7.
2.63 kilometers.
Clicks.
Drops us off, and I'm just hobbled, right, as we're unloading the plane. The video's kind of funny because I'm just bent over, but we get unloaded. The plane just takes off, disappears over the horizon. What's going through your mind at that point? Have you ever been that remote?
Yeah, when I was a little kid, we had done a couple of trips up to flying trips up to some walleye lakes. I have no idea where, but it was similar to that. Similar to that. I was actually relieved when the plane left because that means we had landed successfully. So that was fine.
So you were you were ready to paddle back to Anakokin if we needed
Yeah,
to.
it would have been fine paddling back. Wouldn't have been a problem.
So the whole reason we're there is this lake, Half Moon, is said to have a bass or two or three or four in it. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to survive because I think I've broken my back. You, meanwhile, like, don't even go into the cabin. You just throw
Ha-
rods into the little boats and you're down there unbuckling all your gear.
Having the time of my life. Yeah.
so, so did we catch fish that first night?
Did we?
Yeah, did we?
Yeah. Well, did we go out the first night or would we wait till the next morning?
I can't imagine that we would ever wait.
I think we went out and I'm pretty sure we caught them really good. I'm pretty sure we caught.
I think everywhere we go on that lake, we catch
Yeah,
fish.
yeah,
Or as
but
you
it
say,
wasn't as we expected.
no, they
You
weren't in the
know,
regular spots. I remember we
well,
went.
we had a game plan of some areas that we were going to target, and they were kind of a little deeper. Kind of, they had talked about suspending fish, which I think if you are a fisherman and especially a bass fisherman and you hear suspending fish, you start to get a little bit nervous because at least in my experience, suspending fish can kind of be a little bit of a wild goose chase. But thankfully, that wasn't the case. They were not suspended.
No, they were allowed to come out and play.
Yeah.
Uh, and the interesting thing about Half Moon is there is a, as you call it, a portage down at
Well,
what
if
I'll
you
call,
respect other people's cultures,
yes,
portage.
as our guide from the Quetico had said. Well, I mean, you can be like you're from Iowa and call it a portage. It's portage. So we go down to the south end of the lake. There's a little bump, a little trail, I don't know, 50 feet long down to a lower lake. And there are a couple of boats parked in there. So you hop into the boat, I crawl, and we find a little sandbar where the lake gets really tight. It's more like a little river passage, right?
Yeah.
There's the cliff on the far side. And as soon as you start casting, things are happening.
Yeah. Immediately.
Like fish everywhere, every cast sort of thing.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it was. I'm assuming most baits would have worked, but every bait we had was working. I mean, they were hitting, your typical wacky rig stick baits. They were hitting top water. They were hitting, pretty much anything you threw at them.
And it was just bizarre because we were like two little kids. Meanwhile, Aaron Ochtenberg is shooting all this stuff and he's just thinking this is silly. We're catching on top waters. It's everything. And so we know it's going to be a good trip. And we get back to the cabin, we make a little dinner. Um, it's a nice night. I know my back is giving me trouble and I'm starting to worry, but I crawl into my little bunk inside the log cabin and drift off to sleep. And when I wake up, it is
All better.
pitch black. Nothing is better. And I have one of those moments that I will never, ever forget. I'll get to that in a second, but we need to pay some bills first. Ryan Johnson is my guest today. Lord forbid. We're talking about one of our best fishing trips. But first, I want to thank our sponsors. And up first is Voyager Saunas. No doubt, the world has been a crazy place the last year or so. We've all got busy work schedule, kids, coaching, travel, the routine, right? It just all feels like it's too much. And I think I have found a bit of a way to get away. And I do it with our new Voyager sauna. Voyager, they build these custom saunas for your home, backyard, your business, and they are the only company around right now building these premier mobile units. They are saunas on wheels, and they are amazing. Clear grade cedar benches, spray foam insulation, Kuma wood-fired stoves that are also built here in Minnesota. They even have these Hilo electric heaters. These are Finnish-influenced, hand-built saunas that will last a lifetime. And maybe my favorite part, they're constructed with care by the Hometown Voyagers team. The family, we love our new unit. And I think you will enjoy this Minnesota movement if you try it. It is a Minnesota movement influenced by Finnish culture. Visit voyagerssaunas.com and get ready to distress. Also, I want to thank the Minnesota Propane Association.
Hi, I'm Laura Sherck, and do you really know what it costs to heat water at your home, cabin, or business? No? Well, we do. Based on data from the U.S. Department of Energy, the average annual savings for homes that heat their water with propane rather than electricity is $175. You can save energy and get 2.5 times as much hot water compared to the average electric water heater. Let's save energy and money with a cleaner, greener fuel. Propane, the right energy right now.
And who could forget Connecticut? The Shercks, we love our Connecticut water system. No secret there. We live out in the country. We've got that ironclad well water, which is good news and bad, right? Well, we treat all of our water with the Connecticut whole home water treatment system. We also use Connecticut's K5 drinking water system. That white buildup you get around your faucets? We've got none of that in the showers or in the kitchen. Our dishes are spotless. And of course, Katie loves what Connecticut water does for her hair and our skin. And like I like to say, the boys, before they leave for soccer practices or for the hockey rink, they always fill their water bottles with Connecticut water. What more can you say? Call Connecticut, do like the Shercks did, and look forward to clean, safe water. All right. Back to the story of Half Moon Lake up in Ontario, Canada. Ryan Johnson is with me today. You and I are up on this lake. We are catching the heck out of the smallmouth bass, as you like to say. And our first night, we all drift off after dinner, and I wake up in the middle of the night, and I'm about to explode. But it's pitch black. Literally, I cannot see my hand in front of my face, and I try to move in my bunk, and my back just racks me. Like, I can't move. I can't move. But photographer Aaron is over in the next room sleeping. You're out cold in the bunk next to me. I don't want to wake either of you guys up, so I try to do the polite thing. So it takes me 15 minutes to roll over in complete darkness, feel the floor, crawl down to the floor from my bunk because I can't sit up and just walk out, and I slither in the darkness at 1/4 of 1/2 of 1/8 of 1 mile an hour, just like feeling my way through darkness on the floor. It was such a low moment for me, just so I could get outside and try to drain the waders. You never knew that even happened.
I did not. I was unaware that this was going on.
Because you were just off in La La Land, sleeping away in the peace of the North Woods.
Yeah. Well, I was tired from catching all them fish.
All right, so we get up the next day and we decide we're going to explore a little bit. So I think I took about 20 Advil, perked up a little bit, sucked up a whole lot. We take a couple of boats down. We go to the next lake, get in that second group of boats below the portage, motor all the way down the lake, and what do we find?
More smallmouth.
As you said, look, there's another one. Well, it was a bizarre setup because there were rapids kind of flowing down into a third lake, which you and I thought about taking the boat down, which these are little, 14-foot boats with 8 horsepower motors on them. But we kind of set up above these rapids. I remember it was cloudy, started sprinkling, and you start throwing topwaters. And pretty soon you're giggling like a little schoolgirl. All right, good talk. Thanks. Bueller. Well, I think you should get a computer that works as well as Chris Lindahl's.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's payback. All right. So you start casting topwaters, and pretty soon you're just giggling like a little school girl. I don't ever remember having fishing like that. I mean, it was crazy.
Well,
there were just fish everywhere.
Yeah, the fishing was very good. And it was a fun way to fish too. Obviously, anybody that fishes topwater is you know that's a very exciting. You could see them hit the bait. Obviously, it's a very very exciting way to catch fish. So yeah, we were having a blast. They were hitting topwater great, and it was one after another. It doesn't get much better.
No, and that's it does if we're together on the trip.
Yeah.
Aw. But I think that's partially why you take those trips. It's almost silly fishing, right? Like, you don't have to try. You just do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could throw any silly bait. You could throw a banjo minnow. And a smallmouth bass would probably eat it. Well, I know you may or may not have 2 tackle boxes of every flavor of banjo minnow ever made. But they just those fish are just agreeable. So at this point, the trip is looking up. I'm feeling good because we've caught all these fish on tape. We've shot this cabin, which it's kind of funny. It's an old log cabin, and people have written all over the walls. Like, I don't know what compels somebody to go visit a place and then just write their story on the walls of the log cabin. And it was funny because we're looking through this cabin. We're using a Coleman lantern to light it up. And there are all these people writing like, this lake stinks, can't catch fish, threw every bait in the bottom. Right. And you go, what in the world could they possibly be doing wrong? I don't know how you go to a lake like that and not catch a fish, much less 500.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they were targeting those suspended fish.
I assure you. I just, I just, have you ever been to a hotel and you just walk in and start writing on the wall?
Not yet.
So the cabin's covered in graffiti. It was a wonderful trip until our last morning. No airplane comes.
Well, it was
Are
kind
you?
of stormy out, wasn't it? Was that what was going on? If I remember right, it was a little bit rainy and low cloud ceiling, and
Yep. And we're
yeah.
thinking the plane's not going to be able to get in to see us. So you happen to have a little satellite communication device, so we can actually text out to Jeremy Dixon, who runs Canoe Canada, and I don't know, it's whatever, 8 a.m. at this point, and he says, yeah, weather has us all socked in. Plane won't get to you guys until at least noon. So now we're stuck on the lake and we're all packed up. But when you're in a place like that, the last thing you're going to do is give up on fishing, right?
Yeah, we went fishing.
So we went fishing, but we didn't decide to fish 100 yards off the end of the dock. We grab a couple of rods, we grab a couple of tackle boxes. Photographer Aaron has had enough of our antics. He's packed up, so he says, I'm just going to hang out here at the cabin, wait for the plane. You two can go fish. So you and I decide we're going to go to like the end of the world. And those rapids, 2 lakes down that look like a slide that we decided we thought we might want to try to shoot in the boat. We get down there, we're catching fish, but instead of it being all smallmouth, now we're catching walleyes.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like in the same spot, now they're hitting topwater, swim baits, crankbaits, all kinds of stuff. And you and I have this moment. I'll never forget it. It's drizzly. Our eyes connect and meet, and we just have this moment. And we go, yeah, we're going to shoot the rapids. And literally, as I turn the boat, I mean, this thing it's a trough. It doesn't look like conventional rapids with boulders and white water and waves. It's just this glassy slide going down to the next lake. And I start to aim towards it, and all of a sudden, this airplane buzzes overhead. And we're like a half an hour downstream from the cabin, and it's not noon. And we have this moment of, oh, shoot.
We're late.
We're going to be really late, and bush pilots never like anglers who are late.
We found that out.
So we motor back up the lake. We park the boat. We make sure the plug's out. We get up to the upper lake where the cabin is. We get the boat out. Meanwhile, my back, I'm still wrenched, right? I'm still dying. We motor up as fast as we can, but these little, and they might, I don't know, they might have been 6 horsepower motors. They chug at a slow pace so you can see the plane a mile up the lake or whatever it is, and we're just motoring. And the plane seems to be getting no closer, and I'm starting to sweat it a little bit because I know how ornery some of these pilots can be. Hang tight. We'll finish the story in just a second. I want to acknowledge a couple of our other sponsors who helped make the Minnesota Bound podcast happen. First up is the Minnesota Department of Natural Resource.
Minnesota's wildlife management areas are a vast array of lands all across Minnesota. These 1,440 wildlife management areas are valued not only for wildlife, but also for Minnesota's outdoor recreation opportunities. They maintain hunter walking trails, plant food plots for wildlife, and develop acres and acres of prairie and grasslands. To find out more, go to mndnr.gov/WMAS.
Today is a day for adventure. Cub has all the Nabisco snacks you need to make sure adventure is delicious from start to finish. Life just tastes sweeter when you share Oreo cookies on the trail, when you crunch Ritz crackers at the campsite, or rock the boat with Ritz Cheese Crispers. Stop a Cub on the way to your adventure. The great outdoors is calling. Don't forget your snacks.
All right, it's time to wrap up this story. It's been a heck of a fishing trip. All kinds of craziness. Wrench back, epic bass fishing. You're not a fan of airplanes that crash. So we're motoring back up because we had been told the plane won't get to us, or we had been texted through our little satellite gizmo that the plane won't be there for another 2.5 hours, yet
It's overhead.
the plane flies. We race back. It takes us like 40 minutes to get back to the cabin. And we pull up to put the boat back up on the logs on shore, and the pilot is just ticked. It's not, hey, happy to see you guys. Oh, man, how was your trip? Do you remember the first words out of his mouth?
I don't remember the words out of his mouth, but I do remember he didn't look happy.
His words
Thankfully,
were,
we were all packed.
we were packed. His words were, I was 2 minutes away from leaving you guys. And we said, well, time out. Your boss told us you wouldn't be here for 2.5 hours. So it was a really weird flight back. There wasn't a lot of chit chat. The regular, hey, how'd you fellas like the cabin? Hey, did your motors work? How was your fishing? Any record fit? It was just dead silent. He stared out the cockpit. We land the plane. We unload our bags. We get in the truck and we drive away. And that was pretty much my favorite adventure ever with you.
It was an amazing trip. Both trips, the paddling and the Quetico, the airplane ride to Half Moon, the fact that I could get out onto the fishing spots and the rocks faster than you because only half of your body worked.
Oh my gosh, we forgot the best part of the trip. The rapids in the upper lake.
Yeah. That was kind of what was so unique about it.
All right, so where we parked the boat on the upper lake, literally, in the first set of rapids, they look like conventional rapids. Boulders sticking out, little waves, white water, and there's whatever it was, 30 or 50-foot trail down to the second lake where the boats are parked, and you do this stupid thing. You just jump out of the boat with a rod and you hop out into the middle of these rapids on the boulders. What were you thinking?
Well, I was thinking moving water, current, fish. It's pretty simple. And
Yeah.
and there was a lot of fish in there.
You like to undersell, don't you?
I thought at first it looked super cool, right? And whenever you can catch a fish out of a cool looking spot, that kind of makes it, you're kind of like, yeah, that's what it was supposed to do. And the rapids looked so amazing, right? Just something you don't see in the lakes I fish in Minnesota.
Ever.
Right? You just don't see it. You see it on TV shows and the internet and that type of stuff. You just don't ever see this type of rapids where they're kind of a slow drop and there's big boulders as big as Volkswagens. And, it was just so picturesque. It was just absolutely beautiful. I thought, well, worst case scenario, there's no fish in here. I'll get to stand on some boulders and rapids and it'll be cool. It'll look cool.
Jettas or Beetles?
Well, I'm not nearly as old as you, so I would have to say Jetta.
Or or Vanagons.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
Really?
No.
Well, you're more of a domestic car guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm still crippled, so I'm still kind of, just hobbling like the old man I am to get over to a rock. Like, that looks like fun. I should try that. Meanwhile, you're just ripping fish and giggling and hopping from rock to rock, something we called rock hopping in Canada. And it was just amazing. So much fun.
That was unreal.
So, all right, if somebody is listening and they're thinking like, oh, I want to do this, if you had to take 2 fishing rods, only 2, what would you take?
Well, so for what we had done, I'm assuming you mean what baits?
Nope.
Or
what rods? Let's start with the rods.
Okay. So your typical standard, I don't think you have to take a bait caster up there. You could, but I would say if I was going back, I would take a 7-foot to 7.2 medium spinning rod, something that you can throw your stick baits on. And then I would take again, another 7-foot, probably bait caster, something you can throw top water on, or a swim jig, or a little finesse jig, or something like that.
I love it. You're always going to have plenty of tackle along, right? Because the rocks and the pike and everything else tend to chew up baits. You don't need to bring a tackle box full. That's one of my biggest pieces of advice. Everyone brings as much dang tackle. Pick your favorites, the stuff you trust, and have duplicates of those, right? If you're bringing swim jigs, make sure you've got plenty of them, and just go and fish and have fun. Where's our next adventure?
I don't know. Let's pick something. Let's go.
More importantly, flying or driving?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Or we could ride bikes.
Yeah, that would work.
All right. I'm on it. We'll pack up our bikes and we'll go fishing.
We got to get flags, bike flags.
Well, what's different now is our boys have grown up and our boys love to fish as much as we do, maybe even more. So the boys might be going along on the next trip.
Yeah, that would be, this trip that we took would be amazing to do with the kids too, with any, it's an easy enough fishing trip and short enough plane ride.
Yep.
That you could get up there easy and get on really a lot of good fish.
Love it. All right. That's it. That's the end of the story. Bill Sherck, the Man About the Woods, with Ryan Johnson, the creator of Bass Squatch. If you've never heard of Bass Squatch, check it out online. It's Ryan's and Ryan's only. Thank you so much for listening to the Minnesota Bound podcast, the stories behind the stories. By the way, if you're interested in that trip, check out Canoe Canada and their fly-ins. They have all kinds of wonderful lakes to visit, but Half Moon remains one of my favorites. Thanks to all the sponsors that make the Minnesota Bound podcast. The stories behind the stories happen each week, including Voyager Saunas, the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources, Connecticut Water, and the Minnesota Propane Association. Until next week, I'm Bill Sherck, the Man About the Woods. Don't forget to introduce a kid to the great outdoors.